All right, let's do this thing. Hey there, how you doing? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. This handheld is so metal, you guys. And by that, I don't mean that it rocks. I mean that it's literally metal. It's made of metal. And also, it rocks. Not literally. This is the TrimUI Brick Hammer, the latest retro doodad by our friends over at TrimUI. This is like a refresh of the original TrimUI Brick. If you're not familiar with the TrimUI Brick, well, that's weird because it's super popular, and I think that it's safe to say that everyone except you knows about it and likes it, but I'll tell you about it anyways. The TrimUI Brick is one of the most popular handhelds. People are always bringing this up whenever I talk about budget doodads, and that's fair because it is a great little thing. With a slick and premium look and feel, a pocket-friendly form factor, great screen, great system, and enough power to handle a ton of stuff, everything up to and including Dreamcast and N64 and PSP. It's also built like a tank. Lots of people say that this is the best EDC handheld because it's so tough and pocket-friendly. So in that respect, a new brick made entirely of metal, surely that's a recipe for handheld dominance, right? This TrimUI Brick Hammer was provided to me to review by LitNXT. If you want to buy a TrimUI Brick or the Brick Hammer, it's my job to tell you that they sell this and you can buy it from them if you want one. There's a link in the thingy below. And they also sent me their custom system card that comes preloaded with CrossMix OS and a ton of games. And we're going to check that out today too. Starting with the box, and it's the same box. This is literally the same box as before, except they put this Brick Hammer sticker on it. It's a bit lazy, but whatever. It's just a box. Who cares, right? Inside, you get the Surwish SD card. If you buy this from LitNXT and you buy the card, you'll get that. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. And the device itself, obviously, and we'll come back to that. And word paper. There's some words in there if you like to read words. Under there, we get a USB-C cable and some bumper and trigger alternative buttons. That's something TrimUI does with the brick. You can swap out the bumpers and triggers to different styles. There's 3 to choose from, and I like these ones personally. The specs of the Brick Hammer are exactly the same as the brick. All-winner A133P chipset, 1GB of LPDDR4X RAM, 8GB of internal storage, 3.2-inch display with a resolution of 1024 by 768, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and a 3000 mAh battery. I'm going to cover the basic stuff about the Brick Hammer, even the stuff that was the same on the brick, just so you don't feel like you need to watch 2 videos to get all the info. I'll try to be quick about the stuff that's not new though. On the front, we have the screen, D-pad, face buttons, menu button, select and start, and these RGB lights are also buttons, and front-facing speakers, thank goodness, volume up and down on the left, toggle switch and power button on the right. Underneath is an SD card hole and a reset button, USB-C hole for charging, and a headphone hole. Around back, we have an RGB light strip and this classy inset glossy logo, and bumpers and triggers, and another USB-C hole for OTG connection. No HDMI out on this thing, unfortunately. And down here, we have this lovely ribbed texture for style and comfort. The Brick Hammer comes in 3 flavors: gunmetal gray, fluorescent green, and pink. And if you don't care about the metal shell, you can still get the original brick in plastic white or black. LitNXT also sells custom buttons and laser engraved backplates so you can bling out your brick however you want, like I did here with this gorgeous TechDweeb engraving. And you can have this too. Nothing says I make bad financial decisions like rocking a TechDweeb backplate on your TrimUI brick. This gunmetal gray Brick Hammer is offensively nice. I don't even know how to explain it. It makes my other handhelds feel like dollar store toys. This feels like so much more than a plastic doodad. It's more like a precision engraved artifact. The photos looked amazing, but when I unboxed it and saw it with my eyeballs and held it with my dweeby little hands, I was so happy. This is among the nicest handhelds that I have, if not the nicest, and I have quite a lot of them. The photos don't do it justice. This thing feels like it was forged from a titanium meteorite by celestial beings, and then it descended from the heavens down to China, and then from China they mailed it to me. This feels like a timeless object. Like in 30 years, we're gonna laugh at all the cheap plastic handhelds of today, but the hammer will still looks like it belongs in a museum. A retro gaming museum full of all the best emulation handhelds. Right next to the Data Frog. Like, forget the Analog Pocket, forget the iNeo DMG, forget about all those overpriced boutique Game Boy clones. This is it. The Brick Hammer is the ultimate Game Boy style handheld. The final form of this final form. The only thing holding it back from being my favorite thing ever, probably, is just the fact that it's not that DMG retro beige color. I love it in black, it's super classy, but I mean, you know me. I love my retro doodads to feel a little bit more retro than this. And on the topic of it not being quite perfect, the original Brick had a warm spot on the back. This metal backplate area. When you push the device hard with high-end emulation, it would warm up. The hammer spreads that heat out across the whole metal body, so instead of one toasty spot, the entire device gets a little warm. It's nothing terrible, not at all, but it's something to keep in mind, as it is with all metal handhelds really. They all have this quirk where they feel warmer to the touch. Also, maybe this is a downside, it's solid as heck, but it's also heavier. The original Brick was about 160 grams. The hammer is closer to 200 grams. Still totally pocketable, but you'll feel it. I daily drive a Miu Mini, which is like carrying a feather. The hammer is more like carrying around that cool rock you found last weekend. Totally worth it, but it is going to pull your pants down a bit when you run to the ice cream truck after work. Now, this is a little bit unrelated, but like I was looking at my statistics last night and I realized that over half of you watching this are not subscribed. And I get it, clicking subscribe buttons is a lot of work and not everyone has the guts to do it, but I just want you to know that I believe in you. I believe you're ready to put in the work and muster the courage to click that button, and I'll be so proud of you when you do. You got this, buddy. Ah, see, I knew you had it in you. The controls are basically the same on the hammer as they are on the original Brick, with one tiny exception. The clickiness is a little bit less on the hammer. Across the board, everything sounds like a little bit of a quieter click. It's not much, but it is noticeable if you have them side by side to compare them. That might be that the metal shell is doing something to kind of muffle the sound or whatever. I don't know. It's just something I noticed and I wanted to mention it. Not that the controls on the original Brick were super clicky. Just a bit. And that goes for all the controls. The D-pad and the buttons and the bumpers and the triggers, they're all micro switch style and it's kind of a quiet click. I love it personally. I don't need membrane to be happy as long as the controls feel good and they're not super loud. These are overall nice and quiet. Also, the D-pad is excellent, just like on the original Brick. No false diagonals and it's easy to hit the diagonals when you want to. Great for fighting games. Being a more compact handheld, it's a bit of a smaller D-pad, but I have no problem with that. And if you have no problem with that sort of thing, you're gonna like it here. Speaking of which, actually using the controls on the Brick will depend on you. If you find them comfy, that'll be up to your preference. I have bigger hands and I have no problem playing on the Brick, but I've heard of other people complaining about the size. It's a small device and some people don't get along with small devices. If you like small devices, then you can get this and know it's a good one, but if you don't, then yeah, you're not gonna like gaming on this, even if you do love the way it looks. There is no analog stick though, obviously, so if you want to play lots of N64, Dreamcast, or PSP, then you might not love playing those on here, depending on the games you're playing. If you want perfect controls for analog games, get the TrimUI Smart Pro instead of the Brick, or the Hammer. And you should check out this video if you want to know what I think about the TrimUI Smart Pro. Spoiler alert, I like it. Shocker, right? Of the many, many reasons I love the Brick, and especially the Brick Hammer, the screen is among the top reasons. This screen is just great. It's 3.2 inches, so that's sort of the middle ground between the small devices like the Miu Mini and the Zazbidi, and the medium devices like the Miu Mini Plus and the Zazbizzle. So it's like a big small, or a small medium, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. Also, it's a super crisp screen, 1024 by 768. This is not a typical resolution for retro handhelds, and it's not a resolution that most retro systems will scale up perfectly on, but it is a high enough resolution that doesn't really matter as much, because it's such a high pixel density that you don't notice pixel scaling issues the same way you would on a lower resolution screen or a larger screen. And of course, you can use interpolation shaders to compensate for any uneven pixel scaling. Check out this video on my channel if you want an explanation of how that works. It basically just means that everything you'll play on here will look crisp and clean and beautiful. One gripe about the screen though, it doesn't get super dim. It's bright and colorful on the high end, but even at its lowest, it's not crazy dark. It's still playable in bed, just not extra dim like you can get on other handhelds. If you want it dimmer, you can apply a darken filter in RetroArch, but it's a bit of a bummer that it doesn't get dimmer on a hardware level. The sound on the Brick Hammer is definitely above average for cheap retro handhelds. You get dual front-facing speakers, so your ears are blessed with clean, unimpeded stereo sound. They're not crazy loud or bassy, but for retro games, they sound great. Crisp and clear and pointed right at your face like nature intended. Plus, it's got Bluetooth, so you can connect up wireless headphones and live that untethered life. Honestly, I haven't used wired earbuds in ages because I am now a fully indoctrinated wireless earbuds guy. If you're looking for a great budget option, my personal favorites are the Xiaomi Redmi Buds 4 Active. I use these with all my handhelds. I'll drop a link to these in the thingy below so you too can join me in the Bluetooth earbud enlightenment. Or ignore me and keep living in the wired dark ages. That's fine too, whatever you're into. When it comes to the system, you've got 3 paths to choose from. The first is the stock OS. It's fine, it has what you need, it plays the games, no complaints. If you buy this without an SD card, that's what you're going to be using. It's installed inside the brick, so it's like a secret. Just add your own SD card and it will make the directories, and then you can add your games, and yeah, you'll be good to go. If you want more features and you don't mind a bit of tinkering, CrossMix OS is a great option. It's like the stock OS, but better. With more emulators and tweaks and options and fancy stuff, you can set it up yourself, or you can do that thing and get one of the Lineage XT preloaded cards, which come fully set up with all the emulators and CrossMix all set up and tons of games. Some of the best ROM sets I've ever seen, including like ROM hacks and fan translations and stuff, and lots of high-end stuff like PS1 and Dreamcast and PSP. I made a full video tour of those cards. I'll toss a link below if you want the grand tour. And then there's Newly, which is what I personally use. This is one you're going to have to set up entirely yourself. Newly is basically Batocera, but for handhelds, which means that you get all those awesome Batocera features, endless customization, and of course the TechDweeb theme, which is obviously essential. It's not hard to set up, and I made a guide which you can follow. It's easy to install and add your games and scrape your art and get it all set up like this. It takes some time, but it is so worth it. Obviously, this is only a good option if you're willing to try to set it up though. So again, check out my guide if you want to go this route. Oh, and I should mention that since we have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you can connect up to Wi-Fi for netplay and retro achievements, and you can connect up Bluetooth controllers and wireless earbuds via Bluetooth. When it comes to gaming, I'm not going to go deep into the performance stuff here. Definitely check out my TrimUI brick video if you want to see me talk about all sorts of performance things. The short version that I'll tell you now is that the TrimUI brick wasn't just well loved for the hardware. It was also basically unbeatable in terms of price to performance. You got N64 and Dreamcast and PSP, and the device itself was cheaper than lots of devices that didn't even do as well as the brick. It had the great hardware and great performance. Everybody loved it because of how well it did overall. You can run lots of tricky to run games that struggle on other handhelds just fine on the brick, and the brick hammer is the same. It's not different, obviously. It has the same guts on the inside. You'll be able to play everything up to and including PS1 and Nintendo DS and the vast majority of Dreamcast, no problem at all, and a good amount of N64 and PSP, and a bit of Sega Saturn too. Not every game from those systems, but most of them. Obviously, since we don't have an analog stick, you're not going to have a great time playing stick-centric games, but I'd be lying if I told you I didn't still sleep with a stuffed animal that I stole from my high school girlfriend when she dumped me that I mutilated in revenge. And Amy, if you're watching this, Reggie loves me more than he ever loved you. But honestly, the real reason I'm in love with the brick, and now obviously the brick hammer, isn't because of that higher end stuff. It's because this thing is perfect for the classics. Game Boy, NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Arcade, Sega Genesis, PS1, DOS games, all that old school pixelated goodness just feels right on a device like this. This screen makes those chunky pixels pop in a way that feels like you're holding a tiny retro gaming museum. Like the history of video games in the palm of your hands on this one little Game Boy that you can play with on the toilet. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? Not the toilet part, but just the idea of a Game Boy shaped doodad that fully embraces its destiny as a retro machine, built to run the most retroist of games in the best way possible. Anything beyond that is just a bonus for me. I didn't want this thing to play God of War. I wanted it to play Pocky and Rocky at 2:30 a.m. when I should be sleeping because I have to get up in the morning to drive my mom to her hair appointment. And you can too. With your mom, not my mom. Unless you're single, I could use a new dad.